Good afternoon, lovely people. How are you all? I hope you're staying warm wherever you're at. And that opening never gets old. I will say that. I love that opening. Thank you, Fet for Hire. Today we have a treat. He teased us on a panel a couple weeks ago with his various and sundry items, but tonight I've been asked to come into the evil laboratory. So let us give a King Dolphin Television welcome to Andy Masterson, the action figure master, and his friend Mark's 47, who is the electronics expert. And we just got the third member of Team Masterson, Tom. As soon as he comes up, he is the diorama expert. Let's see. Yeah, he's coming on. Okay, he's running slow, but I'll keep on going. So he's Andy Masterson is an action figure designer extraordinaire. And as I said, here is his design team. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you of our 100 subscriber raffle. If you haven't put in your name, either DM me on Twitter or email me at rnfeliciano@thedolphinwars.com. I will get the link out to you guys. Hey Tom, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, welcome. Tom, the other member of Team Masterson. So welcome aboard. So
good to be here.
All right. Before we get started, I'd like to welcome all of you lovely people to the chat. We've got Legatus Legionii. We've got Canadian Spider-Man. We've got.
Not working.
We have Darius Munchausen. We have Fez for Hire, John Rendell. And we have Grifter. And I'm sure there's going to be some other people coming in. And we look forward to having a fun chat. And we also have Mark. Okay, that's Mark's 47. Sorry. So, as we get started here, let's see. Introduce. Can you give us a full introduction of the team and what they do, Andy?
Okay, so this is Mark. Mark is, what happened was I was customizing a figure and screwed something up, which is typical. Never goes as planned. And so I messed up the electronics. So Mark had contacted me before about doing some of the electronics work on some figures. And so when I broke it, I was like, yo, can you help me out with this? So I sent him the part that needed to be fixed, and he did that up, and he's working on jazzing things up a little bit more. So we got into this lengthy discussion about possibilities and potential we can do with action figures. And so because I'm completely illiterate as far as any kind of electronics goes, he was bringing me up to speed on things that you can do with battery packs and lighting and sound effects. And the idea of this was basically that to introduce people into the wonderful world of collecting. This is most of the fans of our group, fellowship, community, whatever you want to call it. A lot of these people have come along into this fandom just because of their love of the pop culture, but with guys like Az and the collections of toys he got, and if you're on Doomcock's Patreon, he's got Doomcock's toy chest that shows off all these collectibles. Well, a lot of people will look at this modern collectibles, 6 scale things, and then see the price tag and grip their chest with heart attack pains. Um, but the idea is that it's not really that expensive. Most people have a problem when they look at these things and they think of like a Barbie doll or GI Joe, and they're expecting maybe something $20. Then you get a figure here that's like well over 300, and but once you hold them in your hand and you actually look at these things, and you see like the detail and the craftsmanship, and it's like, oh yeah, I can see why they would be that much. And you have shows like Robert Meyer Burnett and Az from Heel versus Babyface do their weekly show showing off these action figures. Well, last year I created a Doomcock figure, and the response was incredible. All these people started shooting me DMs and asking me where they could get one. Of course, I can't sell these things because it's not mine to sell. But maybe realize how many people actually wanted to own something like this about like their favorite creators. But it's prohibitive. I'm a one-man show, and when I made these things for the actual creators, I'm just making a one-off figure for them. But if things are going to happen where it's going to be opening up, or where other people see some of the stuff that these guys are able to do, like Mark's got this electronics thing. Let's say, for example, you have right now Spider-Man is incredibly hot. So Hot Toys is creating like all these different Spider-Man figures and so forth, and they're great. But what if you want something a little bit more to it? What if you want something a little bit more unique? Well, you could reach out to Mark, and he can set you up with a little box that you can put in your display. That would be, imagine playing the theme to Spider-Man from the old cartoon, or maybe some of the sound effects for the webs, shooting through his hand, some pow, bams, and stuff like that. Imagine if you have, say you have a figure of, I don't know, whatever your favorite YouTuber would be. Let's say you have a Doomcock figure, and the music would play in the background of his intro, but all these possibilities. And then if you wanted to do something else, like Tom has created a number of incredible dioramas. He first started off with video game action figures, and he's created this Final Fantasy VII. Now, I'm not that savvy with the video games, but he showed me he's got a video on his channel with scenes cut from the video game and this diorama that he's built to go along with the I believe there's 7th scale, Tom, the action figures to go along there, and it's
1/7.
So people will see this stuff and they're like, and you don't realize how many people actually want these things. You don't realize how many people would have a disposable income, and it's mainstream. People don't think too much of somebody taking their man cave and putting it up with all kinds of sports memorabilia, or they set their bar up looking like a nice English or Irish pub. They spend tons of money to do these things. Well, our interests lie in different places. So if you're a Captain America fan or a Punisher or a Daredevil fan, and these are collectibles. These are clearly not something you pick up, and you would certainly not let a child play with these things. Despite all the little pieces and everything, they're very expensive. They're a little fragile, but they're astonishing. If you were to look at, for example, this is one of the first releases Hot Toys did of Captain America figure, and I'll see if I can get the focusing in here. I've shown these things to people, or pictures of them, and a lot of these people are very hard pressed to see the difference between a sculpt and the actor playing the role. They're that good. Unfortunately, I'm not that good yet, but these things are amazing. So when you see them in real life, most people are blown away. But the cool thing is that no matter what happens to your favorite property, if whatever they're doing to Star Wars, you can have your Luke Skywalker on your shelf that just represents that moment in time for you, where it's completely yours. And as such, you can individualize this. You can make this stuff so it's like your figure can have sound effects and lighting. And this is such a good time to jump on this hobby. When I first started doing this, you were very limited as far as the action figures you could get. Most of them started with just basic toy lines, like you have, the Hasbro. This is from 1999, and as you can see, it's very clearly it's a toy. It's molded plastic, and the bodies are very toy-like. But if you compare that to like the modern figures, these things are the bodies are articulated to up to 32 points of articulation. The sculptures are incredibly detailed. They're very realistic. The fabric work on these things is unbelievable, the things that they can create with these. So when you hold something like this, but you don't want your display to look like everybody else's. If that were the case, you would just buy a statue. But people that like the 6-scale collecting, it's because of posability. You can put these things in any kind of position that you want. You can use a stand, but most of the time these things can stand on their own. You can the joints and everything are ratcheted to a point where they're not going to collapse. But the whole purpose of this was to set things up so if you wanted your own diorama base, you could contact Tom and say, I saw this image on this video game or this movie. You can contact Mark and you could say, like, I have this sound effect that I wanted. There was this scene in Captain America where, he's saying, I can do this all day. And he could take a clip from the movie and put it on a sound effects card so that you can hit your button on there. So your friends and neighbors come over and they are looking at your display with awe and reverence because they've never seen such a thing. And you can show how yours is unique. And so that's how this little federation has come into play. But each guy is separate. We just are kind of working together so that if there's an opportunity, if somebody wants something but that I can't provide, there's somebody else that can. There's electronics and there's wiring and there's lighting effects that I have no idea how to do. Mark can do that. If there's like diorama things, and Tom's got this incredible workshop with all the saws and drills and miters and everything that he could put together. When you see some of the stuff that he's made, like if you look in his background there's the bar display that he made, and it's pretty amazing.
That looks really good. Can you go full screen on that? That looks amazing.
Wow, that is amazing. What's it? What bar is it?
It's a bar from a video game called Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, okay. Wow, that is so detailed.
Turn the light off for me.
Yeah, he's got a little refrigerator there. There's the bar, the cabinets, the little cash register in the back.
Nice. While he's showing that, I'm going to welcome our latest newcomers. We had Snorter Poopus, Cuber. We have Big Daddy MRI. We've got Fet for Hire. Hello, brother. Stuart Mitchell. Hello. The Stellar Heather, the Wrench Slicer Extraordinaire, and Lord Darth. So wanted to welcome you all to the chat. That is an amazing.
Thank you.
Andy, I don't know if the last time we talked you gave us a little told us about yourself and what got you started into this? Would you like to go into that?
Well, I started off with this just growing up. It's probably, a unique story with fans of such things. Like little kid, I didn't have a whole lot of friends. I played with a lot of toys. I was allergic to everything, and I wasn't very good at sports. So I stayed inside most of the time, and I had my Legos and I had my action figures. Now, growing up, what I did back in in the 70s, it was a great time because you had GI Joe, you had Mego. Mego figures were sort of like a smaller version of GI Joe. You had accessory packs you could buy. So the idea would be that if you bought one figure, you didn't have to keep going out and buying new figures. You would just buy like a clothing outfit or an action pack. And being the youngest of four boys, I had a lot of hand-me-downs. So I had a ton of toys of my own and my brothers that they were no longer playing with. So back then you had Mego figures, and Mego, they were 8 inches tall, and they had the license for DC Comics, Marvel Comics, Planet of the Apes, Star Trek, all these different franchises. And I pretty much had most of them. And my prized possessions were, I started collecting comic books back in 1976. And Captain America was always my favorite. My father served in World War II. We used to sit down and watch World War II documentaries together. So Captain America, being a World War II soldier, is sort of like a progression from that, an extension. And happiest day of my life, I was like maybe 11 years old, and my father and I finally tracked down the Mego Captain America and Falcon figures, and it was like I was just in complete heaven, just like these were my holy grails. And as I got older, I foolishly listened to people who said I had to get rid of all my toys, and I did, and regretted it. And then it was about early 90s, and a good friend of mine at work, I had no idea he did these things. He collected action figures. And so there's a Star Trek convention in Valley Forge, PA. And so he grabs me, like, let's take a ride up here. So we head up to this thing. Now it's the early 90s. My hair is like down to the middle of my back. My friend Kat, he's a black guy that plays in heavy metal bands. Black leather, completely black outfits with like Indian feathers hanging off of stuff and whatnot, and long hair. So we go into the Star Trek convention, and everyone's there dressed as Klingons and Starfleet officers, looking at two guys in biker jackets with long hair, carrying around an action figure of Ilea from the first Star Trek movie. And Persis Kambala was there, so she was going to autograph this figure for my friend Kat. And so that was like my first step in collecting again. I was like, wow. Toy Biz had put out these lines of X-Men figures and all the Marvel figures, basically. And I had been a big X-Men fan as well growing up. So I had this huge collection of the little action figures, just kept them inside the boxes and just like push pinned them along the walls. Very similar to what Gary does on his in his background on his live streams, except mine were in the packaging. And then when my son was born in '99, we were going through KB Toy Store, and I saw this figure there, and I picked this up. He was on clearance. It's Obi-Wan figure from the Phantom Menace. He was on clearance, and I said, I'm getting this for him. His mother's like, you don't even know if he's gonna like Star Wars. I was like, oh, he'll like Star Wars. And it became his favorite action figure. So then I had gotten on some collecting forums to try and find out when the new releases for the Hasbro 6-scale figures are coming out, so that I could keep them up to date. Now, full disclosure, yes, I use my son as a complete shield. I probably wanted these things more than he did, and it was his little throwback to my own childhood.
the
But
the test subject.
yeah, so I was on some forum websites and talking about these things, and there's a whole sections on customizing action figures. So I learned about the whole process of sculpting, making a mold out of silicone, how to pour resin in, different painting techniques, and so forth. So I took the 6-scale Anakin Skywalker body, comparison.
Mm-hmm.
So I sculpted my son Glenn, so his head, and swapped the heads out. So he had his very own action figure that he could hang around and play with Obi-Wan.
Huh.
And then my daughter, of course, she wanted in on the action, so I had to make her so she could play with hers. This is like, Pate's a little chipped off because it's like she's in college now, so
Mm-hmm.
but and then she got a little bit bigger. I had to increase the size of her figure, and she just had a great time with that. Then over time, I had a friend of mine who he was getting married, so I made him his own action figure. He was a big fan of The Walking Dead, so I made him a figure like that. Probably the most impactful thing was my brother Ed. He had been diagnosed with cancer in 2014, and so my brother was like very impressive individual. He was 6'1", anywhere between 225 to 245 pounds, depending upon the year or whatever. At 49 years old, he was squatting 810 pounds.
Wow.
Very accomplished martial artist, wrestler, grappling artist. So he really, to have his body kind of debilitated was very depressing for him. So they had done surgery, removed the cancer, put on chemo, and everything looked great. Of course, then the cancer came back, so they put him back on chemo. Well, the whole time I had started making him his own action figure.
Mm-hmm.
The thing was that there's a lot of variety. When I first got into this, as far as just actual collecting myself, little backtrack a little bit. There was Hasbro subcontracted out their license to Sideshow Collectibles, and the first for Star Wars toys, and then the first thing they created was a Jedi Luke figure, which was incredible. I'd never seen anything like this. Of course, I was thinking to myself, I'm never going to pay $40 for an action figure. Ignore the $200+ Captain America figures behind me. But the problem was that for the most part, they were all the same height. But then as Hot Toys started to gain prominence, they came out with scale. So you would have one body and a different body. Now, my brother Ed, being a big guy, he needed a large body. So I tracked down this Hot Toys body. It was a very muscular body. I think it cost me like $70 at the time, but put everything together, and I called him up and I asked him if he was going to be home, and he was like, "Yeah, why?" I just have something for you. So I walk in his house, and his chair's facing away from the front door. So he's like, and he turns. It was a throat cancer, so it had limited some of the mobility in his neck, and he just kind of looks over and he's like, "What do you got for me?" So I hand him this box, and he starts to open, and I can't see his face. And he just turns around with this big grin on his face, and he said, "This might be the coolest gift I've ever gotten." And he left this thing in his living room, so anybody that came in the house was forced to go over and check out his action figure that sat there. But that feeling of joy that I was able to convey, that was priceless to me. That was something that I really liked. And so when COVID hit, I own a martial arts studio, and there's restrictions, and people aren't coming out because concerned about the virus and so forth.
Mhm.
So I found myself with a lot of extra time, and that's when I discovered this guy with the crazy helmet on YouTube. And up until that point, I figured YouTube was just for watching music videos or finding something on how to fix, how to troubleshoot my dishwasher.
Mhm.
And Doomcock introduced me into the live stream and seeing like, wow, there's this whole community of people who are, and it was about The Last Jedi, and we left The Last Jedi, and I was like a little upset to say the least. And then to hear people having the same reaction I did was like it was wide open. So then I saw Doomcock was talking about like his love of action figures. I think he and Gary were doing it was either an Inquisition or some show, and they were talking about their action figure collections. It's like, wow, this is great. I wonder if I can make a Doomcock figure. So I started thinking about the outfit and stuff like that. Incidentally, I learned how to sew for my daughter. Learning, she had a collection of American Girl dolls.
Mhm.
And they run about $100 a piece, and it's a money pit. But man, she took care of these things like they never laid on the floor. They were put in their beds every night. But I created their own furniture, and she's got a dollhouse that I made for her, and she's got 11 of these dolls, and each one has their own separate room with its own furniture, and they're painted different. But they're very expensive. So the clothing you could buy was very, very expensive. So I learned how to sew to save myself some money.
Mhm.
So created the Doomcock tunic and everything, but like I had no idea how I was going to do the embroidery, and that's when I got a Cricut machine that it cuts out vinyl. So I created the pattern for the tunic, and I found the little rivets, and I put this thing together. It took a couple tries. It didn't go smoothly the first couple times, but I finally got it together, and I got Doomcock's PO box, and I just popped it off in the mail. I didn't think anything of it. I figured this guy probably gets all kinds of cool stuff like this all the time.
Mhm.
I didn't put my name or anything on it. I just my return address, and off it went. And so I was at the gym one night, and I hear him talking about this amazing Doomcock figure. I was like, oh wow, cool. And I sent him a little Bad Robot effigy of the mascot of J.J. Abrams, and the little torture device he came with. So I just got a super chat in there to let him know that it lights up. And really, this is where Mark will come in, because if I can create these things so they can actually light up, because the switch was just a little piece of metal, yet you sort of pushed up and it would go on and push down. And I cannibalized all the parts out of a little electronic tea light with an LED in it.
Mhm.
But the lights would flicker inside of his head like he was broken, because they were torturing him. So that was the
I remember
first
that
thing.
one.
And but I realized that like as people were asking me about this, like they'd never heard of 1/6 scale collecting. They had never heard of anything about like that this was a thing that they could actually get into. And that's what's really cool about this, is like is introducing people into this hobby, that it can be expensive. And my goal with my stuff is to try and show people how you can do it on a budget, how you can you don't have to look at these things and say, wow, if only I could afford that. There's a lot of other ways you can kind of go around things. You can create your own. You can put things together. You can buy things bit by bit. Most of these companies will give you installment plans, like in Hot Toys. If you order a piece like that is currently released, chances are it's not going to be in production or be out to ship for another year.
Mhm.
So you'll have a full year to pay this thing off by the time it gets there. So for $10 a month, you'll probably have it paid off by the time $10 or $15 a month by the time it's due. So
So a layaway plan.
correct, yeah, it's like but it's a great thing to get into. And I started customizing, and I've been sculpting. I've gotten better with sculpting the heads. I've gotten learned a lot learned about how much detail is too much detail, how to texture the skin, so forth that goes into it. I'm probably going to get my daughter to start painting the heads for me because she's much better with colors than I am. But we'll discuss the slave labor later.
All right. Before I go to my next question, 3 more people have coming in. This is great. Like to welcome Catwise. I guess he knows you for a while. He's
the guy that got me into this addiction.
We've got the lovely Sherry. Welcome, and we've got 6. So we're starting to get a crowd here, and of course we got our first spot. So it is what it is. So, when did you meet up with your partners here and start collaborating with them on the projects? And Mark and Tom, feel free to hop on into to answer the question.
What the last question was? How we got started, or how we fell in with Andy?
Yeah, how did you? Yeah, well, how did you start? How did you fall in with Andy?
Well, I started out as one of his kung fu students.
Say again?
I started out as one of his students at his school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How long now? About 12 years?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a while.
And he got me into it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I coerced Tom. I was showing him some of the figures that I had, and his favorite was always Hawkeye. And so
the real Hawkeye, right? Not the one from.
Well, it's the best we've got. Like, so it's Jeremy Renner he's a good actor. The characterization, he's not Hawkeye from the comic books, but
yeah.
If the cool thing about your toy shelf is that you have a stand-in. You have this is something that represents this character that I really like. And it was the same thing. Like you talk about the pricing of a full Hot Toys figure. I think at the time they were probably going for a current Hot Toys figure. I just ordered a Spider-Man figure, classic suit Spider-Man figure, and it's about $260. And it'll probably be like another $10 shipping.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, the Hawkeye figures back then were probably about $189, which, if Tom's got a wife and a couple kids, and so you know how that goes. Like you say to your wife, "I'm going to spend $200 on a toy," and things are going to get pretty lonely for you for a while. But when you think about this, it's like this is a custom. Well, it's sort of a kit bash of a Hawkeye figure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was in a similar boat with being self-employed. Sometimes the money comes in. Well, sometimes it trickles in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have the disposable income to be buying anything that came along. There's guys that have these complete collections where they're just filled with Hot Toys things, and they probably have $10,000 to $20,000 in Hot Toys figures. Well, I made a decision early on that I wasn't going to do that, and I was going to limit my purchasing to Captain America. And so I've got 4 Captain America figures, a Falcon figure, a Doctor Strange figure, a Black Widow figure that are Hot Toys, but then I have a lot of third-party ones, and I also have things like this that I put together myself.
Mm-hmm.
So you can buy the heads separately on eBay. Made the outfit myself with bought some boots, bought this is actually a bow that I actually made. I cut out a styrene, shaped it, put it together, and same thing with the quiver.
Mm-hmm.
But this whole figure probably cost about maybe $50 to put together. So compare $50 to $189. For me, it was an easy justification. but that's what I'm saying, that you can put these things together yourself, and that was Tom's favorite figure. So we got together, we worked on things. He ordered some bodies, and then of course, now that I've got him addicted to this, he's ordered some Resident Evil figures, and we put together a few things like that. But yeah, it's a little bit addictive. So
Okay. And wow. And Mark, how did you get into Team Andy?
Well, I was going to share a picture of the thing that really got me started.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it'll be my whole screen or not. Let's see. Just one of these things from Radio Shack 35 years ago, 40 years ago, when I was little. Little 30-in-1 Project Labs. That
Wow.
same model. And after that, it was wiring alarms up to my bedroom, and I think I wired in an electric squirt gun at one point. And just kind of branched off from there. Then I got into computers, and a few years into that, I think the biggest project I did was I had a voice modem I could hook up to my private phone line, and I had my cell phone hooked up or rigged up to dial my specific number with a specific code, and that would actually be my substitute garage door opener.
Wow.
And so I could, like 2 miles away from the house, I should probably open the garage door, hit the speed dial, and it would dial in and do that. Let's see, how do I stop my screen share? Oh, there we go. And then a few years after that was, Star Wars was getting big again, and I started going to Dragon Con, and kind of the biggest project that really got me kicking into, buying parts again, and stocking up and being able to do larger projects was this guy here.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
I don't know if you can see with the logo.
Look at that.
Whoa. Amazing. Oh, amazing.
So I'm in the R2 Builders Club. We usually a few of us per convention, if it's a larger convention.
Wow. Does it pop out with everything?
He had Sonic Screwdriver, and he had a Harry Potter one, so he could take on a Hogwarts student and and Alec at the same time. But I actually took them out a little while back. They just weren't. They didn't look quite good enough to keep them in.
Wow, that's just absolutely
A
awesome.
little more work to go into those.
And these remote control, awesome.
Well, yeah, he's a PlayStation 3 remote.
Nice.
A lot of us use these. A lot of us use these because we can hide them, just kind of sit like this,
Okay.
and not be seen as the controller. Other guys use the full-blown RC aircraft that you see.
Yeah.
That kind of got me paying attention to what kind of electronics are available for this type of hobbyist stuff. I don't know if Andy's ready for me to show the project that we've been working on for somebody.
Oh yeah, Cat's sort of out of the bag for the customer. So I sort of let him know the other day because we're checking on the progress. So a couple months ago, there's a fellow we refer to as Mexican Iron Man approached me with creating a Mexican Iron Man figure. He wanted to repaint a Hot Toys figure, and like, dude, Hot Toys Iron Man's like $320, $360. Like, why don't you get one of these knockoff ones? See what happens in China. If you're a toy manufacturer, you go and you create, like, you get the molds and you get your prototype and you get it set up, and the corporations over there will, like, the companies will create the molds and run off your figure for you. Then after they hand you your order, they'll run off a few 100,000 of their own so they can sell in the black market. So all the same molds are used for like for the Hot Toys figures, but it's a fraction of the price. They said like these guys are like $80-90. And so he's like, great, let me get a couple of them. So we're working on that. And that was the thing that I was taking apart, and I knocked the wire off, and that's why I reached out to Mark. And he said like, well, wait, this is for Mexican Iron Man. We're going to do a lot more than this. So yeah, take it away, Mark. Show them what you've done.
So yeah, he sent me the most of the figure. I didn't have the head, but fixed the switch. I can see why that broke off on you. They'd run that thing right near a spot where those two pieces just rub right against it. They took the base and put some electronics in that I had sitting around. So basically I had a little reading light from Walmart, a greeting card speaker. I had an amplifier. I had to find an amplifier for it. I took apart a little battery bank from a cell phone charger or whatever, cell phone battery bank. And this is the soundboard right here. And I can turn it on, and I've got a few buttons set up for specific sounds. Let's see if this one's... That's his La Chancla imitation. So I told Mexican Iron Man a few months back, I'm going to start recording you on all your streams, and I just been clipping away. So I had probably about 100 sound clips from him, and I had to edit those down, pared them down to like 30 or 40. And let's see, what other ones we got on this one? He'll start going into different.
No! What are you talking about? Oh no!
Anybody that's listening to his streams with him on it know that he does those about 10 or 15 times per hour. So yes, there are rabbit chicken sounds.
I was going to ask.
See if I can find that. I don't know if I loaded those yet. I think I'm still editing some of the food-based ones. There's tortilla. There's rabbit chicken stuff. Yeah. I even put a hidden switch on it, so if you run a magnet, well, I shouldn't blow it, but I ran a little hidden switch, so it'll start playing different sounds. I'm just stopping it there in case people know the lyrics and don't want to hear the
spoiler alert.
But yeah, so that's kind of what I've been working on for first project for this.
Wow.
That gives you an idea about some of the potential you have for this. Like I had no idea that any of this was going to happen. I was just sitting around bored, and like I'd customized things for friends and stuff like that, sculpting their their likeness to put on the figure. And it was only when after the Doomcock figure, and it was like I was a regular viewer of the Inquisition and the Exozone, so I sent out a Gary figure. So I'd done the Doomcock figure, like there. And
Stellar Heather said she wanted a Doomcock figure that swears at her. I said, well, you can send me the relevant rant, and I can try to clip it out for you, and then she can get the figure from you.
Well, that was the thing that was like that. I had all these people that were asking about like the getting one of these figures, and I'm like, I can't sell these. Like, because I mean, look, there's just as many people that hate Doomcock as love him. Okay, so if imagine like you've got your Doomcock figure, like, and you're someone who hates Doomcock, and all of a sudden you're putting into a compromising position with a Ken doll. So then somebody said to me like, well, you might want to think about this as far as like he can tell you who will let. Like, say you have a subscriber that's been backing you for X amount of time, and then I had done one for Az, just because I was watching Friday Night Tights one night. Most of the time I work until like 8 o'clock on Friday night, so I don't get a chance to watch a whole lot of things other than Friday Night Frolics. But it just happened to be like I tuned in on Friday Night Tights, and Az comes on in a hot dog suit. Just out of the blue, he's wearing this goofy ass hot dog suit. So I'm thinking to myself, like, hey, you know what? This would be really funny as an action figure. So I created the Az figure, and it's funny. Like, this is a good example here about, like, the differences in bodies and so forth. So, like, this here, your base that everyone uses is Hot Toys, and you can see, like, on this one here, the structure of the body, the joints are like that, but you have, like, the wrist can turn and bend, the shoulders are fully articulated like this. Same thing with the legs. You can put these guys into all kinds of, like, very heroic positions.
Mhm.
For that one, you need some mini comic book props that he holds up to the camera and puts.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because, like, I try to customize these things as best I can. Like, anybody can make a figure, but I don't want to just make a figure. I want something that's going to kind of jump out at you with it. It's the accessories that really make the outfit. So Doomcock is basically, and he's a character unto himself. So, and he's got this large cast of characters. He's got Harvey, he's got Sabu, and so my first inclination with this was to create the Doomcock figure and put him in a throne that looked conspicuously like Captain Kirk's chair.
Mm-hmm.
But the chair just wasn't working out. It was kind of problematic as far as making it stable. So I, you know what? Let me change this up a little bit. So I created the reactor background. I created. I took a little squirrel that I'd found at a hobby store, gave him a repaint to look like Sabu,
Mm-hmm.
and then I made the little bad robot who was being tortured.
Yeah.
And then when it was going to be Gary's thing, I was like, well, I don't want to just make a figure that looks like Gary. It's like, so he's a big Doctor Who fan, so I dressed his up with a long black coat. When you're doing this, it's like you have to hunt down source photos. It's like you have to stop and freeze frame things from live streams and screen capture things to try and get, like, decent reference photos of these guys that you're making, and do your best to make a likeness that's going to be passable. And so one thing I noticed as I'm going through all these pictures, and fortunately Gary has a lot of pictures out there of him, but in every single thing he was always wearing black. He's like a big punk rock fan, and black. So I created a Doctor Who outfit with a long black coat and put together a big scarf. And my original intention was to create a 6-scale TARDIS. Now, not being a Doctor Who fan myself, I didn't realize how big this was going to be. And so it's about this big, and it's heavy. It's all made out of wood. And I'm like, I got to send this thing to California and pray it doesn't break. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to send him the figure. And I jazzed up the box, because I custom make the boxes they come in. Because presentation, as an art major for commercial art, you're always taught how important presentation is. So I made that and sent it out with him to it was a TARDIS looking box, if you will. So it's like you take it off, but it was a relief. So it had layers to it, and you run your fingers over it, you could actually feel the depth of it. So that was pretty cool. Then I made Az with the hot dog suit. And the next thing I did was I made a Harvey figure for Doomcock. I cannibalized a Watto figure from it's actually a 1/7 scale figure of Watto. I kind of carved it up, repainted, like, and sculpted a head, put that on. But he's getting a do-over. I made him the Alex Kurtzman figure, and then I was on YouTube, and I saw Drunk 3PO, and it was right around the time the whole Gina Carano thing happened and stuff. And I found out about all the charitable work this guy's done, like, spent like 15 years in Africa and Haiti, just helping people that were like, you know what, this guy deserves something, a little bit of a give back. Let me make this thing for him. And so I took the whole theme of the Mandalorian, and I dressed him up in some Mandalorian armor. But what I did was I took Hasbro C-3PO, and I took a mold of the chest, so the armor actually looked like let's see if I can pull this up here. The armor actually looked like C-3PO. So he was, that's not it, but a Mandalorian version. So this way he could have the the connection there with the whole Gina Carano thing and so forth. And he came with a Gonk droid, and the Gonk droid actually doubles a beer cooler. So you would open it up and let's see here. If I can figure out how to do this share screen thing. Share. Share screen.
Boy, we're gonna have to actually get into the chat because they're blowing up with wish lists.
Yeah,
We'll put your wish lists out there as soon as we go through. As soon as we're done talking with the guys.
Well, that's the thing. Like, all right, so let's say, for example, like you want to look at a Doomcock figure, okay, and it looks pretty basic, okay. So you have a basic body, and there's $87 worth of raw materials just in a Doomcock figure. So like, and it's time consuming. Like each Doomcock figure has 105 of these metal rivets that have to be put in by hand. You know, each done. The vinyl has to be like cut out on the machine, but then you have to peel away all of the material you're not going to use, which is very, very time consuming. It takes about an hour and a half just for the vinyl. Wow. It takes over 3 hours to apply all the rivets to it. You have the molding and casting of the helmet, and then the painting and some weathering and stuff that has to go onto it. Then you have the straps. You create the pants. You buy the boots. You buy the hands and whatnot. So there's a lot of work for me in the Doomcock figure. Wow. And people are like, well, I'd like a Xanadoom thing. Well, that's great. So if I can produce these things, and I'll probably be able to do it, like depending upon supply chain issues, because that's
the big thing, well.
Yeah. But say you're one of these a person who gets a Doomcock figure, and it's like, well, I want a background for it. I can't just have Doomcock sitting there. Well, guess what? You can reach out to a guy like Tom and say, hey, could you make me this background for this? And he can make you a background. And well, yeah, but I want some sound effects in it. So you reach out to Mark, and he can put some sound effects in it for you. And this could be for anything. So that could be like, you have the drunk 3PO figure that, like somebody wants that. Like one of like I said, I really didn't have too much exposure to these guys in Friday Night Tights. And after the whole Zack Snyder thing happened with the Snyderverse thing, and how he kind of like snubbed these guys, they just raised something like $100,000 for suicide prevention for this guy. And then he kind of comes on the show and he's like, well, I'm not associated with these people. Like, dude, they just did a beautiful thing for this cause. And like, and I saw a Star Wars girl, Anna, did this video. She titled it "In Defense of Geeks and Gamers," and she was talking about when her sister passed away, and her sister went missing, and unfortunately they found her. It didn't have a good outcome. But during this whole time, like, the one guy that was really there for her was Jeremy Griggs from Geeks and Gamers, and he went and he blasted this thing out there to try and find this girl. And then when it turned out not ending too well. He put a GoFundMe together, got all the expenses paid for, and I'm like, you know what? This guy deserves an action figure. So I made it Jeremy action figure. I had to do a little homework on him because I really didn't know him. But I've also made friends with so many of these people in these different fandoms, like, Mexican Iron Man, like, Mark. It's like, they're all these people, and there's several of them were requesting, like, they want the whole Friday Night Tights crew, like, they want to see all these things like put out there, and I'm gradually working my way through things to, like, to create something that's like that people are having fun with and looking at these things and having a great time with. But say you want an as figure, and you could have your as figure and have the electronics that yell, Fukin scissoring,
What about a King Dolphin figure?
There you go. That's it. It's like, so like, and that's the idea. Like, there's all the Cardinal Sin did this. Like, Cardinal Sin was the one, like, he jumped on me and had me on his show and was really putting things out there. And I was like, you know what? He was like, wow, that's a really cool figure. So I like, all right. And then he said, hey, can you make one of me? I was like, well, I already planned on doing this just because it's a thank you to him to, like, hey, for putting me out there. So I put his together and I sent it out to him, and and Gil's a vegan. So of course I gave him a gun that's shaped like a V. It's a V gun. So like, you put something out there, it's just a little, little play on things. But like, the potential, like, why would you just have something like this sitting on a shelf when, you could contact a guy like Tom, like, all right, what kind of base can we make for this figure? Like, here's the thing for you, Raymond. It's like, you've got your book series there. Like, you could take characters from your book, and like, you could have, things like, you could have say a Doomcock figure, you want like a reactor background, or talk to these guys about creating like the whole Section X Studios backlot. There's potential in all this. Now it's hard to do, it's hard to reproduce, but if it's something that you really love, it's something that, like, this, you spend, I mean, God, if you think about like the amount of money people spend in super chats with some of these things, it's this is their outlet, this is their entertainment, and it's something people love, and they would love to have a shelf full of these things. Now, unfortunately, I'm just a one-man show, but like, I'm trying to put these things out there and connect with people that can, help out with like different parts of the collecting. Right. So it's not just dependent on me. So, but that's the idea behind it.
Okay. Tom, so you're pretty much like doing the action bases and stuff like that. How many have you done?
Probably almost a dozen about now.
Wow. Wow. Well, I think at this point, I'm going to leave it to the chat and to you guys to show off. I do want to ask Andy real quick, how many projects do you currently have? Just rough wag. You don't have to go into.
What is it?
Well, okay. So currently, what I've created so far, Doomcock, Harvey, Alex Kurtzman, Gary, Drunk 3PO, Jeremy, Mexican Iron Man, Cardinal Sin, Ryan Kinnell. I've done a figure for Eric July that he hasn't gotten out of his post office box yet. I did Chrissy Mayer was on Twitter, and she put a post up there about where can I find a Hunter Biden action figure. So someone tagged me in the post and said, this guy can make it for you. So I did. That blew up a little bit, and I had, next thing I know, I had people calling me up through my business phone here about how they can get one of these Hunter Biden action figures. And I'm like, you realize that, like, this thing's everything's custom made on this thing. It's going to cost about $150. And this guy was like, good, I need 5 of them. So I was like, okay. So I've currently made 13 of these things, and like I think it's pretty much going to be the limit on that. But I sent another one out to Chrissy Mayer for that she hasn't had a chance to highlight yet. There's a couple other projects that I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to layer things out. Okay. This week, I was supposed to get the Mexican Iron Man figure. Mike wanted multiples of that. He wanted a couple of that. So I'm still waiting for one of them to be delivered, because it's going to be a lot easier to paint everything all at once rather than do it each individual time. So I'm trying to get everything together with that. Once the Mexican Iron Man figures are done, there are 8 more figures that are in the lineup as far as what's going to be done, who's going to be done next. And I try to keep it like random, like, so when these things just kind of appear to people, I like the surprise. I like watching the reactions. Like when they put reaction videos up, it's like it's not quite as meaningful as when my brother opened up his figure, but it's a good feeling, like, to see somebody open up something that you made and to have a really heartfelt laugh or a reaction to it.
Yeah.
So that
makes it worthwhile.
Yeah.
So do any of you guys use 3D printers, or what tools of the trade do you have?
I do. I've gone through about 3 different printers, but one's kind of sort of behind me. Can't really quite make out, but it's a good, for me, it's been a good repair parts source. Like R2's holo projector or front eye or whatever breaks because some kid grabbed it. I could either wait for somebody to do another set of resin casts and maybe have a run ready, or somebody happens to have a spare part sitting around. That's great, but I'd rather be able to fix it myself in a lot shorter time period. There are actually several hundred fully 3D printed R2s in existence now, if not in progress. But yeah, like this piece right here. I think pieces like this are 3D printed. I think I've got a couple of vents down there that are 3D printed. He's a good mix of metal and mostly aluminum parts and a lot of resin casts, like Andy was saying earlier. Like this is just polyurethane resin, I think. If it's not clear, it's polyurethane. Yeah, not epoxy, but yeah, it just fits right back on. Other than that, as far as tools go, soldering iron.
Yeah.
There's Tom's background of his Resident Evil diorama that he's working on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering. Nice. I was wondering what that was from. That's really cool looking.
That is nice.
Zoom in on that, Tom.
I can show it.
Nice.
There's some nice forced perspective on that hallway there.
John Rendell asked a question earlier for you, Thomas. What are you using for your walls and furniture in terms of?
Yeah, I got it right there.
It's all basically wood.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
It's MDF wood mostly. Yeah, I have a wood shop in the garage, so that's where I do all my work.
Okay. Yeah, if you guys got any questions to bring on to ask them, feel free to ask now. I'll plug them up. I'll put out the questions.
I'll kind of expand on the R2 materials just for a second. As far as materials goes for droids, for example, some people build them out of styrene. And I know, and the reason I mention this is because I know Andy has built sets and props out of styrene. just thin sheets of plastic, and then glued those together. Yeah, there are fully styrene droids that only weigh like 50 pounds that are full size like that.
Yeah, I started working with. I went to the hobby store and I found the sheets of styrene plastic, and you can. I started ordering from Blick Art Supply that you can buy a full sheet of this stuff for. It's like 2 foot by 3 foot for like $11, which is so much cheaper than buying individual sheets. But that's probably a third of the price you would pay for that same amount of material at the hobby store. It's expensive, but it gives you a lightweight material that you can like the brick face on this. Like you see this building here, like there's like the hole that's broken out of it. Well, if you want and you want to have that closed off, you can slide that right in there.
Okay.
And now the building's back together.
Okay.
So it's a lightweight.
It's a World War II building where you can have the damage already.
Well, this is going to be this is going to be a bus that's crashed through the wall, and it's going to be a diorama display for all the superhero figures that I have.
Okay.
It's going to be I'll probably make like some Hydra agents that are beat up and kind of cast aside. I've got I got a Green Goblin figure that I just got. He'll be flying around. Falcon will be flying around eventually. Doctor Strange. So
wow.
Yeah,
Good
it's
project.
Yeah, but it's a neat look.
Yeah. Have you had to deal with any licensing issues since you're actually putting likenesses on the modified action figures that you've got?
No, that's one of the things I said with the YouTubers. I don't get into anything where it's going to be you can't mass produce something enough that would be worthwhile for these companies to actually go and sue you for. It would be one thing if I were making something that was going to be damaging to a brand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say for example, I was going to do something with create I don't know, some kind of twisted version of a character or whatever. And but the YouTuber personalities that I'm doing, I'm just putting these things out to them. So if they wanted to offer these things, they would go to me, and then I would never just put these things out there and say, oh look, here's an eBay channel, and you can buy a Doomcock figure, you can buy it's like that would be personally that would be a little bit unethical for me, so I wouldn't do that. Legally, yeah, I would be infringing on someone and so forth, but as far as big companies and things go, you're really a small fish. They really don't pay attention to those kinds of things. In fact, there's in some cases I would say that the Sideshow Collectibles. Sideshow started off as what they would call a garage kit company. They would create these things that no one else had, and they would make these resin kits, and they would sell them, and you would put these things together yourself, and you would have your display. And they've grown out since then into they've done 6-scale figures, maquettes, statues, all kinds of different display materials. But what you'll find is that there's a lot of room for expansion. For example, there's a diorama company, I believe they're from the Netherlands, called Jazz Inc., and they specialize in 1/6 scale high quality diorama reproductions. And everything is laser cut aluminum and acrylic, and they actually look, when these things are put together, they've done a Death Star corridor. It looks exactly like the movies. It looks exactly like a screen capture from a film, like that. You took the set and you shrunk it down into miniature form. They've done a Millennium Falcon cockpit. They've done they're doing 1966 Batmobile. They've done the Bat Tumbler. all these amazing things. In fact, they just worked out a license with Warner Brothers, so they have to charge something for the license, but it's affordable. And these things run for several hundred to a couple $1,000s, and they sell out. They're
Wow.
booked out and they sell out. They're amazing. But usually all this does is it helps the actual licensor. It's like, so let's say, for example, that you wanted I'm a Captain America fan. Obviously, Captain America's going to sell, Falcon's going to sell. But how many people are going to buy a Bucky Barnes figure? How many people are going to buy a Sharon Carter figure? How many people are going to buy a Dum Dum Dugan figure? Those people they're going to look at this character and say, like, yeah, it would be neat, but it's not worth me spending $250 on this just to have him sitting in the background. But you get a company like So-So Toys that comes along and they make this classic Green Goblin figure for $180 that I bought, and well, that's great because I probably wouldn't buy it at $260, but I will buy it at $180.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is that just guaranteed Sideshow or Hot Toys another sale of a Spider-Man figure, because you can't have the Green Goblin without a Spider-Man figure. So it actually helps a little bit of this black market kind of thing. It actually helps the property itself into growth and expansion. So most of the time you really don't get a problem with the legalities, as far as of course, I really haven't branched out too much in this, but I haven't had a knock at my door yet.
Okay. Well, there are questions. There have been questions blowing up on the chat. So let's start with Legatus Legionii. Hail. If Doomcock agrees to let you sell his figure's likeness as a figure, how long does it take? And I think you've already answered this one. How long does it take, and what would it cost?
I did up the numbers for this because of all the requests for it. Like I said, there's $87 of raw materials, and there's about 9 to 10 hours worth of work that goes into each one. So that would cost probably about $225 a piece.
Okay.
And that's like, I think I'm working for about $12 an hour.
I was just going to say that's bargain basement pricing for your time.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, it's like, but it's I love this community. I love this. A lot of friends that I've made this, and if I can do this without putting myself in the poorhouse, that's the thing with these figures that I've made, that each one that I've sent out to people has been like it's out of pocket costs. And for a lot of them, it's like, Doomcock is probably the most expensive one that I've done. Although, like the Drunk 3PO body, Jay's a big guy, so I had to get a taller, beefier body. The body that Doomcock sits on is about $17. The Drunk 3PO body was $35. $35 for the it's called a gang hood body. The female figures, now I'm working on several female figures. Now the female figure is the bodies are more expensive than the male bodies, so they run about like $27 each for the body. They come with a rooted hair. It's like a wig that goes on the back of the doll, and they run about $12 a piece. And you're talking like footwear and things. So the female figures will probably be more expensive because just the nature of things that have to go into it, and the steps of development for it. So, and it depends on the figure too. Like like this Az figure here. So I had made the Az figure and I'd sent it off to him, but I put it on a regular body now, and it's kind of interesting because I didn't want to be insulting and but Az is a little chubby, so I had to make like a little fat suit to go underneath it. And I didn't want to insult him, so I was going to send this thing off to Gary and say, like, hey, maybe you can send this thing to him, feel out like how he's going to feel about this, right? So he's opening this thing up on the live stream. He's like, I think I'm going to need a little extra cushioning in here. So he was like, I should have made it a little bit bigger. So, but this body, I got one of these. One of my brothers, he's let himself go a little bit. So I had done figures for, of each of my brothers, my dad, like, and so forth, like, and so someone was, it was a meme going around with Az or something. So I popped the head off that I had, because what I did was, when you're casting these, like, I'll usually cast multiples, because every once in a while you get air bubbles and things that go in there. So I had this extra Az head sculpt, and I put him on this body, like, kind of like laying there naked with a towel draped over him on this, like, this bearskin rug, and shot it out there as a meme. And but it was like, well, this body is like, it's, you can got like a belly on him and so forth. Now this body goes for about $68, but it's very heavy. Like, for example, this body here weighs about I'm going to say like 12 ounces or so. This thing is like well over. This is about almost 2 pounds. It's so heavy. It's a very heavy PVC plastic. But you can get these other bodies that are extremely muscular. Like, this is the Drunk 3PO body, the base. This goes for about $35.
Okay.
Then you have like these here. That's your base body that I use for most of them. Sort of an average, you can see all the points of articulation. They bend, they turn, the head. And then, but you have, depending upon the figure that you want and how you want to do it, that would determine pricing. So like I said, the Doomcock figure would go like the body is about $17. The boots are $10. A 4-pack of hands that would come with it are $15. The rivets run for $12 per 100. For 200, so that's $6 in just rivets that go on there. About $2 in snaps. There's a $4 neck adapter that goes in there. There's about $6 in resin for the head. So it's not like a big chunk of anything, but it's just little incremental things that add up as you make the figure.
Okay. This one's for Tom. Catwise thinks your dioramas are awesome.
Thanks.
Are they 1 to 6?
Yeah, they're 1/6 scale. The same as Andy's.
Oh, okay. And how many? Go ahead.
Pat does some amazing work himself. He's got a stage for his Kiss figures that he did that will like blow your socks off. He's like, he's quite impressive.
Now, how many
1,000 figures?
How many dioramas do you currently have? Like we saw 2.
Just in his room, about 4.
Oh, okay.
No, actually 6. I have 6 in this room.
Okay. Yeah, well, you'll have to do a circle around.
Well, my son is real big into Ninja Turtles, so I made this one for you.
Wow, nice. Nice.
Come here. Get them lights on.
Oh, there might be a guy from Midnight's Edge interested in that one.
Andy actually helped me with this one here.
Oh, the lair. Nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
this was for my son.
Wow. That's really nice.
Turn those on.
Whoops.
Turn that light on.
Oh, nice.
It's already on.
You'll have to excuse Snoopy knows his mommy's home. Yeah, the detail on the brick is amazing.
Oh yeah, thanks. The top part is actually this is actually wood.
Oh, okay.
Can we see that at full screen by any chance?
How do I do it?
I'm not sure.
And go in with the link. Go in via the link again, and just do a share. I think that's how you did it, Andy. Right?
And then I got lazy on the bottom part. This is just paper.
Oh, okay.
So
Nice.
and then for the water, it's just resin.
Oh, the
Oh,
rest
that looks great.
sewer line. Yeah.
But this was actually all Andy's idea. So this was actually my first one.
Oh, okay.
So
That's nice.
yeah,
What's
my
that
son
one?
loves it.
It's that inner child, like, we never really, like, you just think of all the cool stuff you like to do as a kid.
Exactly.
Yeah. Legatus says, how much inspiration does a show like Robot Chicken have on creating these figures or settings?
I've only watched Robot Chicken a few times. Although I did one collaboration so far with our amazing Fet for Hire, where we did one video putting out there highlighting some of the torture devices I sent to Doomcock, which are really cool. And I intend on, like, when I can get things set up is to send Fet for Hire a set of figures so he can just photograph and animate and really go to town with some stuff. But like the biggest thing has been the rivets. Like, they were out of stock with the shipping things. I ordered rivets for Doomcock vests, and they've taken like 4 months to get here.
Wow.
So there it is, Cock Therapy.
Yep. Cock Therapy. Hail Fet for Hire.
He's amazing.
Yes, and I'm sure he's thinking some diabolical things even based on this chat.
His mind is like, it just like,
yeah,
you just give him a little bit and he just runs with it.
Not even a little bit, just that half a second. Things he's done to me has been. Hey, Alessandra, welcome. Thanks for glad you're back. Glad you had a good flight. And hey, Casey Osowski, and this is my cue to ask or to welcome Mayor McCheese on. And let's see. Casey says wants me to tell everybody how cool he thinks your work is, and your stuff is amazing. Just keep showing, and I'm sure that
well, that's the cool thing about all this. I mean, imagine like you have like a diorama background like that, and then you can put in, you get Mark to hook you up with some electronics. You could have like the sound of running water for the sewer diorama. You could have like the sounds upstairs of like horns and traffic going by. When he was hitting some of those buttons, we were on a Skype call one night, and Mark's playing all the little the Mexican Iron Man music and all the little sound bites of it, like, and really you could put anything like that in your display. Like there's a like Doomcock should be getting his Christmas present on Tuesday.
Okay. I saw that on the Friday Night Frolics.
Yeah, he's got his Star Trek Discovery dream gift.
Oh, that sounds.
Oh, I think he's going to have to decide whether or not he wants to show it, because it might be considered. I'm sure somebody's going to look at me and tell me that I'm like a horrible person for like putting this together. But it's like, I thought it was pretty funny. But like we'll see if he shows it. And I'm trying to work on like making Harvey into I was talking with Gary Ambrosia, who's like an incredible artist. He's a sculptor, and he's done a lot of the things you see on the Doomcock show. So he worked on he made like a little figurine of a 6-scale Harvey. So I'm trying to get some pictures of that so we can have some continuity. And it looks very similar to the plushie, but I'm going to put that on these little child-sized bodies where I'm going to paint them all green and add some wings and things to them, and like see if we can't put out some Harvey figures that we can make available to people too. It's going to be it's going to be a process. Like I figure I can probably do about maybe, depending upon workload, 2 to 3 figures a week if I can get the materials in, and that'll just be like. And once I get them done, I have a list of people that are that want to buy them, and we can go from there. But like right now, I'm just trying to get things set up. Like I said, the supply chain issues were the biggest factor that you had getting things together. So once I get a backlog, then we'll see where we go from there.
Stellar Heather says you sent him a Mikey spot to put on the rack.
There's definitely a Mikey spot there, but the context is going to be the key to it. With her background.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Mark.
I saw this one. As far as limitations on the sound, there's pretty much no limit. There's 10, 15, 20 different types of boards that you can use for sound effects. I could just get the one that's most appropriate to the complexity that you want. There are some that play sounds simultaneously. Like I can have my R2 is one of the few that can play a song and beep at the same time. Not a big deal, but if you're running around a convention and want to honk a horn at somebody or beep at somebody and still be playing a loud song, that's one board. The one that I've got in this one at a time only. So, and then the storage, again, it's completely flexible. I could have a board with an 8 gig card in there, or this thing, that one, for example, has 2 megabytes of storage on it, and it just uses the OGG Vorbis format because it's really, really compressed. So the sky's the limit.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, you can add.
I think he meant USB.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, so for this one, for example, USB port's right there above that switch on the far side there. You can load them in. This one takes a very particular format of naming the sound files, and then it'll play them in order. So like for this song, or for this one, it'll be T01.next, or next 1, next 2, next 3, and they'll play in sequence, or you can do them randomized.
Okay.
But yeah, you can add your own. As long as you can get to it, you can add your own. This one's going to be sealed up and probably won't be terribly customizable, just in that it's a somewhat sealed device.
Well, we'll be able to adjust that so it can open up and you could get into it if you wanted. Like, somebody like me, that's not going to do much good for, because I probably wouldn't be able to figure out how to make it work. But like, Mark and I were talking about this, like making sort of a uniform size box that these things could fit into. And that little box can be worked into, like, leaving a space available inside of a diorama that that you can put your sound effects into. Like Sideshow and Hot Toys both did a Jabba's throne environment, and Sideshow expanded out on that. They did a Han Solo in carbonite with the wall that he kind of hangs on. They did part of a cantina scene, and so people are buying these, and they're selling out. And now imagine if we get together and, like, say a guy like Tom is making a table or something that can fit into your cantina or your Jabba's diorama. But inside that table is a sound effects machine, so you hit a button and it plays the cantina song, and or maybe you have like some of the background chatter going on of the aliens that are talking with each other from like New Hope. And that would be something that's totally unique for your. It's a new dimension in your collecting. So there's so many possibilities with this.
Yeah.
It's not in our. This one does not contain an Arduino. They can. Some of the future ones may very well, especially if I were to rig up a remote control, for example. If we wanted to hide the buttons, I never mentioned that the other night, Andy. But yeah, we could even have tiny little customizable remotes, or just use car alarm remotes to start the lighting up or start the background sounds up or something like that. The more complex ones that I was mentioning, this one's got the SD card on the side, and you can rig up as many as 18 switches, buttons, whatever, to these pins, and each one will trigger its corresponding sound, or even a kind of a sequence of sounds.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't have to have one, but some of the boards are like this and self-contained, but this one can also be. This is the same one in R2. It can also be triggered by an Arduino, because that's what controls everything as far as his lighting and sounds and motor.
Okay. Stellar Heather says, Mark, how about putting sound into a base for the figure to stand on, so then you wouldn't have to deal with the figure yourself? I think that's what you're doing with the Mexican Iron Man.
That would have been kind of the intent behind this one. Except, I mean, well, it was Andy that asked. I was asking if I could fix the figure in this case, and I said, if that's Mexican Iron Man, I've already got a project in progress that this could just be moved right over to. That's perfect. So no, in normal, I mean, ideally, I mean, I wouldn't have had to have the figure at all. He could have just sent me the base and 6 screws, and I'm into this, and just happened to have enough stuff on hand that would fit inside.
Have you ever thought of maybe using Bluetooth capability? Like that, so that you could load up the stuff into an iPhone. And then,
there are also I mean, the sky's the limit. It's amazing the number of little boards that have been created for these things. Some of them are like brought over from the cars, like where you can hook the car audio up to your phone and just do the little aux port, so you have a Bluetooth adapter that way. Some people could use those.
So record a Mexican Iron or Doomcock's rant on a phone, and then you've got a little bitty speaker in the base, and then you can
like the sound. Actually, it's funny. The amplifier in R2, the one that the soundboards hook up to an amplifier to hook up to the speakers, but the amplifier actually has a Bluetooth mode in it, and that thing's only like $10. And it just we could pretty much adapt it to whatever I could probably figure out something to do with whatever you wanted to do.
Now here's the base that
I usually use Arduino, Big Daddy. Sorry.
Mexican Iron Man is going to be. I did a repaint of the armor, and Mark has most of that that I sent off to him, so he could because you can pop these things apart like this, and they're it's got the electronics in there. The light can go on here. There's a light in the head. There's a light in the hands that can go on. Now, Heather was asking about the base. This is what it looks like here. So it looks like this, and you just pop this guy in here, and here's the clamp that holds him on like that. So we were working with this, to take the screws off and open up the bottom.
Okay.
And that's where Mark put in the sound effects. Now I just have to, I'll have to decorate up the top so it looks more like in keeping with, Mexican Iron Man. So instead of the Avengers logo, maybe there's a rabbit chicken logo. But anything like that, like I did for Mexican Iron Man, I did his Darth Pappy figure with his his speeder bike taco cut, his taco sales, and with the little droid in the back. And I didn't think of it, but that would have been a great thing to shoot down to Mark to put some LEDs in and whatnot, like, you know. So we'll have to give some thought about that for the future. I was talking to Tom about this, like when we design things, to like leave space where you can actually put in like things like lighting and stuff like that, and just run wires. And even if it's just like, you know, hooking up a circuit board to it, like, you know, it's ready to go.
Okay. I guess this is a Mark question.
I Arduino, primarily just the plain old Mega standard Arduinos. I'll probably deal with the ESP32 stuff soon enough. I actually did another project recently. It was based on an ESP32. It was a tracking fob for Mandalorian, or at least the electronics for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have this thing sticking in. Well, it's probably too much to demo, but it would actually blink, and then the closer it got, it would actually blink faster, just like the tracking fob. So if I had a resin or a 3D printed tracking fob, I could actually insert this, and then we just stuff the other end with a USB power bank into a Baby Yoda somewhere, and you do it at a convention. You gotta find the Baby Yoda.
Find my Yoda.
Yep.
Here's one for Thomas. Have you ever done anything like the bridge of the Enterprise, the various series, or do the consoles cause a problem?
No, never got into that realm before.
Okay.
Sounds like fun though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stellar, you give me the audio or tell me where to find it. And stay angry. Yeah, that would be a pretty easy one to find, I think.
Yeah.
As long as he's okay with it,
That's true. He's got to, much like the likeness, you got to have the permission for the voice.
I know he respects copyrights. I mean, you've heard him on Friday Night Frolics. That's not in public domain, that sort of thing. As long as he's okay with it. I mean, I don't know what kind of copyright protection you've got on YouTube, but
yeah. Well, I've had even for my little bitty channel, I've had some YouTube give me the stink eye on a couple of things. I did. I did.
Sorry.
If you heard the KR Companion on Wednesday when I interviewed him, I put on 15 seconds of the Knight Rider theme and got a nasty gram from YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't make I'm not monetized, so I don't really care, but
Yeah, my R2's got Knight Rider, A-Team, a couple of Weird Al songs, of course, White and Nerdy. I like to take them up to Spider-Man at conventions, and poor Peter Parker was pitiful, and everybody goes to pieces. But it was funny. My friend built a Tom Servo for his second bot. We bought a kit, and I showed him what the R2 electronics. And he's like, "Oh heck yeah, we're doing that!" So we built some sound clips from MST3K into him, and he took them to a convention, and he was showing them to the guys that did the voices for the robots, or Dr. Forrester and TV's Frank.
Mm-hmm.
And they were joking, but they're like, "Hey, you owe us royalty." He was like, "Really? It's not okay?" He's like, "No, you're fine. It's okay."
Tom, what is the most extensive diorama, the most time-consuming, and maybe the most costly diorama that you've done?
It would definitely be that. It would definitely be the bar.
The bar? Yeah, that bar looks very, very intricate.
It would definitely be this one.
Yeah.
I think I spent the most time on this one.
Yeah, that
actually it's probably my only completed one I actually finished.
Wow.
Check out the refrigerator.
Yeah, that refrigerator is nice.
Little trash can.
Mm-hmm. Now all you need is a humidor. But
what's that?
Now all you need is a humidor.
Yeah.
Actually, when we were looking for a house. The guy had a nice bar down in his basement that
Oh,
had
nice.
a military theme. He had a parachute on top of the base, on the ceiling. The bar was ground under, and you saw tons of brass. You saw military jerry cans. He had a humidor. It was amazing. Unfortunately, we didn't get the house, but it was very nice. So I'm very impressed at that bar.
Yeah, thank you.
I've got a drum bar over here.
I have a shelf in the closet.
Yeah, there's my drum bar. I like it. Let's see, Big Daddy. Oh, you've already answered it. Sorry, Mark.
More or less. Sorry, I wasn't sure how granular you're going to get it into some of these chips and boards.
Yeah. Guys, ask questions. We've got plenty of time. These guys, I don't think they've got it. I think they've got plenty of time. So,
No rush.
Tom's going someplace. Show us some of your other wares, Andy.
Well, that's the cool thing with all this is that I'm coming to this like I primarily got like collections of, well, my collections, I have most of the Sideshow Buffy collection. That's pretty much put away. I've got Star Wars. I've got some Universal monsters. I've got an Indiana Jones figure, a couple Highlander figures, but everything else is mostly Marvel.
Mhm.
And so when I come along and I don't know a whole lot about the video game world, and like so Tom's got a big collection of like the of different video game figures, and
Mhm.
so that's a completely different aspect of things that I'm not used to. Like now, some of the stuff that I've done, as my daughter got older, she got her own figure with a
Oh, nice.
Harry Potter
Yeah.
theme, a little Hufflepuff outfit. I have so my brother was a as much as I was a Captain America fan, or am a Captain America fan, Ed was a Thor fan. Now, when he was in the hospital about like a month before he passed away, I did a sketch of like drawing him up as a comic book character, like along the lines of sort of like a Celtic version of Thor.
Mm-hmm.
So his action figure is metal armor, and he's got made an actual metal hammer, with some cord wrapped around the end with some little Celtic knots etched into it with a Dremel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty heavy. That's that's the gang hood body. Same one I sent over the Drunk 3PO. I got my brother Jim, who is a Naval Master Chief, retired, and he enjoys his beer, so he's got the same body as us. But so I did a figure for each of my nephews and my niece as well. My one nephew he is an executive chef for the Philadelphia Eagles. So but I did a Star Wars theme, so I made him like a Jedi chef. He's wearing like the white outfit with the bib across the top, and the that came out pretty cool. I did get another figure, my other brother, my father. I did up there. I have one of my favorite comic books is The Invaders, and of course they never did a 6-scale version, so I made my own. I figured Ryan Gosling would be my stand-in for the original Human Torch.
Nice.
And I have a Namor, a Submariner. What I did was I took a Sam Worthington head sculpt and I pointed the ears out, and I gave him a widow's peak. So you can give him like
Nice.
little ankle wings.
Little ankle wings, nice.
So,
This leads me to one of my questions. Do you paint the faces, or
Yes.
since you said okay, so you paint the faces off of pictures, obviously.
right.
Okay. So those are actual likenesses of your family, the ones
Yes,
that you
yeah.
paint.
They're pretty accurate too. I've gotten better over the years. The first excuse me, the first version I did, actually my friend Kat, I made his figure about 9 years ago, and I was looking at the pictures of it, and I'm like, you know what, I can do a lot better than that. So I redid him.
Nice.
He's missing the ponytail, but like I'll have to put that on there later. It was funny
Nice.
because I did this, and he said, wow, that's a great update, but I'm bald now. So I had to do a bald version of it too.
Mm.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Figured it was only appropriate considering like he got me into the whole collecting.
Okay.
So it was sort of like a
Let's see. Legatus asks, is the Doomcock helmet a one-piece head, or is the helmet removable? If so, what face do you use? I could see you making a Cobra Commander with Jeremy Geeks and Gamers as the head under the helmet.
this is a solid piece here.
Oh, okay.
It's all sculpted like that, and then there's this little neck adapter that goes on there. See, there's a little peg that goes on.
Mhm.
You can see like this.
Yeah.
And this little adapter goes in here, so you drill out the base of the head,
Mhm.
and that fits in there to keep it secure, so you can get the posability and whatnot with the
Okay.
positioning. But yeah, the head sculpt, I did the initial sculpt. Now the mouthpiece is a separate piece that has to be epoxied in the place. With
Yeah, okay, I see that.
originally when I did it, I used a metallic thing, and it was like, oh yeah, that doesn't look very accurate. So this is actually like a gloss gray
Mhm.
paint that goes on it.
Okay. Let's see. And
You did somebody mentioned doing one with Jeremy. If you did that, we could put a little LCD screen under the on the base and have it change names every 6 or 7 hours, just like it does on Friday Night Tights credits.
I have it,
Jermaine.
Jeremy. Let me grab the head sculpt there.
okay, he stepped away.
Well,
You disappeared, Tom. You went somewhere, or you went dark. What was up with that?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Legatus Legion I asks, do you guys only do pop culture? Do you do famous people or sports entertainment personalities?
Well,
oh, he broke up. But,
things were.
I'll answer. Oh, okay, never mind. Go ahead, Andy.
I've done things of like mostly the ones that I've done are just people I know. It's kind of like a wouldn't it be cool if you had this figure of yourself, like most of the other ones you can get like it, and that's what I'm talking about with it's such a great time to get into this hobby because you can find examples of 6-scale figures in pretty much any you can find historical figures, you can find TV shows, movies, musicians. There's so many different options for you and of what you're looking for and what you can find. It's quite extensive.
Okay.
As far as known things, I mean, since my background's in droid building, I couldn't, for example, build an R2D2 for somebody and then sell it. It's a copy would be a copyright violation of immense proportions, and our builder club actually has pretty strict rules against it. If we're caught doing anything like that, we would ostracize them from the club, say you're not associated with us, you're not affiliated with us. There have been people that have gotten in some trouble for it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would probably elect to stay in the public domain, or at least on the smaller side.
Yeah.
Of things.
Yeah. Casey Asowski. That's Jeremy. Oh, that's Jeremy.
He's got hair. No, just kidding.
He's got hair on that one.
He just did a string where he was showing his hair. So.
Yeah. Casey Sowski asks, is there a project, and he wants each of you to answer, is there a project that you really want to do but you haven't yet? And we'll start with Andy.
Well, yeah. I really want to do an Emily Van Camp head sculpt for Sharon Carter. Growing up on Captain America comic books, like Peggy Carter really didn't exist she was sort of a retcon. There was one character that in the 40s that Cap was kind of romantically linked with, but they never really got into too much of that, and they retroactively called her Peggy Carter. And of course this was in the 60s, and I think it was 65 they brought Cap back. So he'd been gone for 20 years, so he's hooking up with Peggy's younger sister, Sharon. And Sharon had been with him from 60s into 1979 when they killed her off, and then they brought her back. She's actually been more consistent as far as on my shelf, that's going to be the representation that I would rather have, is the something that represents the comic book. So that's one. Now I know what's going to happen because this is my luck. Being Irish and having Irish luck, which means bad luck, I'm going to work my butt off to get this head sculpt just right. I'm going to be really happy with it, and Hot Toys is going to come out with a version of it, and I'm going to be pissed. But that's one of the things I'd like to do. As far as full displays, there's so much that I would like to put together. For me, the sculpture and things I can do, that's more for the appreciation of other people that would I mean, there's a lot better sculptors out there than me, but there's not too many of them that are out there doing this stuff with the YouTube personalities, there's Drunk 3PO. And you got Mexican Iron Man.
Okay.
But it's to me that's the thing that's important, is trying to get these things out to people that they love this, these creators and things. And if somebody wants something that's going to be on their shelf, that's what I was looking for. Is my own personal stuff. I'll buy things that I can buy, but the things that I can't buy, then I have to make. So,
okay. Tom, what would you be in? What project would you like to do, but you haven't gotten around or haven't gotten to it yet?
Eventually, I'd like to expand on this bar. Right now, it's about a quarter of the room, the one corner. But it's all about the room. I need a bigger house first.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of these days.
Okay. And Mark, you.
I can name off 3 just off the top of my head.
Okay.
One's already been done, so if I'd ever had the idea on my own, I might have tried it. I'm going to share the screen so you can see it.
Okay.
I wish. Oh, wait, window. There we go. An R2-D2 Iron Man. There we go. So yeah, somebody did him already. Another guy did a Batman. But as far as projects that I've thought about doing with a buddy and I,
nice.
He did a full size. There he is. This one. Oh well, sorry. Okay, there we go.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a guy named Andy. He another guy named Andy. He did that one and brought it to Celebration a couple of years ago.
Mm.
My buddy and I, he built one of the droids from the Dr. After comics called BT-1. He's the same guy that did the Tom Servo. We were kicking around doing a Nomad from Star Trek, the original series,
Mm-hmm.
and just have it moving around on a big platform underneath.
Ah.
And then maybe using that same platform for a Dr. Ball from Robot Chicken, but the interrogator droid from Star Wars, but using the voice or the sound clips from maybe Robot Chicken, you know, where he's yelling at people to get out of his way, that sort of thing. Probably won't happen, but I started an R2. I started a Star Trek themed R2, but as Discovery started sucking more and more, I kind of kicked that off to the side. He's a smaller scale or a shorter droid than R2, but
okay.
yeah, that's about that was kind of what's on my wish list.
I think this is for Tom, as someone who has his own workshop. Why not custom add to your home?
I wish I could.
Yeah, you've got probably zoning issues.
That's
Yeah,
one of the
maybe.
things that space is definitely an issue with 6 scale. It's like it's a trade-off, right? So you have incredible detail, but things are pretty large. So it is prohibitive as far as like spacing and stuff like that comes out. The key is to try and find a way to display these things in a way that's going to take up as little room as possible, yet like give you the most bang for your buck. Like that's one of the things I was talking to Tom about making some of these diorama bases like collapsible, so that like almost not quite IKEA level, but like a little bit of assembly is required to mail it flat, because you know, look, just shipping things is hazardous to begin with, and you put together some of these things which would be a little. I learned my lesson with I sent Doomcock containment field for Harvey, but it got banged up in shipment and stuff like that, and it's a little like, you know, broken up and things like that. So he's probably hasn't like set it up. But Mark and I were actually talking about this, like doing some things with some lighting and whatnot. I'll probably be connecting with Mark very shortly into making a Skull of Calderon piece that will go along with these things, with, you know, little skull inside of a clear resin globe with some glitter and stuff in there, and we're trying to put an LED in the bottom so that like it lights up with a green effect. Yeah, and I'll probably just mount it on a little piece of PVC tubing, so he has plenty of room to work with in there.
Yeah, we could do lighting to match his moods.
Yeah, exactly.
Do red lighting for when he's really ticked off.
Well, I can relate with having space. Right now, I've got a airport diorama with the scale model, airplanes and runways and various buildings. It's right now sharing space in my basement, where next to my workshop. I'm like, it's just space is even a house like this, space can be a premium.
No matter how much space you have, you would fill it up.
Yeah.
I listened to some of the stuff that Az has, and like I can't imagine like places in England are that roomy. And but he's got like so many things. He just ordered like about $1,500 worth of Squid Game figures because he just loves the show so much and wants to. But there's a Hot Toys actually created for a convention a 6 scale Millennium Falcon, and this thing's like 30 feet wide. So it's like, and they have this sitting there, and all the action figures that are just lined up with it. It's really really impressive.
Okay, wow. Catwise asks, Andy is awesome. His likenesses are spot on. And would Mark be interested in lighting his kiss stage?
Yeah, we can talk about that. Probably the best way to find me is just to email me. Well, that username at gmail.com.
Okay.
Marcus47. My skill set is not in final design, though. I mean, R2 was a different story altogether. So cosmetically, Andy and Tom are probably the ones you want to talk to. But I mean, I can rig up a string of LED lights to flash the way you want, and then trigger a sound or buttons and stuff. But as far as the cosmetics, don't count on me much for that. But
He's
we can
very
talk about it.
skilled in building. Cat's very skilled in building. He could set things up and just like sort of, if you can just have the LEDs with the wires and like in a plug-in system would be awesome, to just like almost like a wire harness kind of thing. That would be
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
To ship a harness would be, that would be the dream as far as shipping goes, and not having to cross ship parts or set pieces or anything like that. Yeah, you're just asking for damage, like you said, with the Doomcock's set. Yeah.
John Randall, Fez for Hire says the Calderon guitar knob.
I could probably cast things, but like you'd need like a guy like a musician like Cat there would be show me like exactly how things would be made and stuff like that. You probably the easiest way to do it would be to take one of those things and like and just make a thing that would fit over top of it.
Yeah. Tom, did for the action figures that you got, did you get those via Andy, or did you for your bar? Did you create them yourself or what?
The bar, no, but for the other Resident Evil one, he made all the zombies for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're all custom.
Okay. Okay. Jack, come on, I know you got questions. You've had great questions so far. Ask away.
Well, that's the cool thing about this, like that people don't realize with this, you can set up your shelf the way you want it. Like, for example, say if you're a DC Comics guy,
Mm-hmm.
and you wanted to set yourself up with, like, say you wanted a Christopher Reeve Superman,
Mm-hmm.
you could stick it next to a Ben Affleck Batman and one of the Teen Titans Robins that they just put out. And you can mix and match these things. And anybody that walks over and says it's not accurate, you can just throw it at your house because it's your display, not theirs.
Exactly.
But that's the great thing about this. It's like it's taking control of things and saying you're going to make it the way you want it to be. Like, one of the recurring themes that we all see about these live streams we pop in on, there's a lot of frustration and anger that like the creatives behind some of these things don't really capture the essence of the franchise they're doing. Well, and like you can call it headcanon or whatever that people refer to, but really it's your taste.
Mm-hmm.
So in your space, it should be able to exist. Like, like I'm going to talk with Gary Ambrosia about like, doing action figures for Doomcock about like the Magma Men and, King Hislick and, to create this entire setup so he can have his fortress there with his, these different characters that he has in his lair. And that would be, for me to be able to, if he put some pictures about like, that's cool, I made that stuff. And in the background, you have Alex Kurtzman, like, on the torture rack. That's even better.
Yeah.
Well, Mikey Spock mops up the place.
Whimpering, oh, I'm the best as ever.
Mystery box.
Yeah.
Mystery box. Well, for the J.J. Abrams, yeah.
Gaddis asks, I heard there are some people who just make custom clothing, usually for Barbies. Have you ever had to think about using one of them to make female clothes dresses?
Okay, so that's a great question. If a Barbie figure will not fit on, the clothing will not fit on these things, and there's a lot of variations in the female bodies. It's very realistic. It's like, because like, women go to buy, there's no set standard of women's clothing. Like they can go in the one shop and it'd be a size 3 and it could be a size 10 in another shop. It's like something fits and something doesn't. But then you have there's a company, they have a a Facebook page called GWIZ Customs, and there's a few others that do this as well. I had inquired about a World War II Bucky Barnes outfit, and it would have cost $245 for the outfit.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, it looked amazing. It was perfect. I just couldn't justify, like, paying $245 for an outfit and they would include the figure with it. So, like, but it was like, that was just a little bit too much, a little bit more disposable income than I had. And later, a third party came along with a World War II Bucky. I ended up like replacing the head sculpt with it, but like, everything else that came with it is actually pretty good. So it's a good placeholder. The process of making the clothes is that's a little challenging. If I were a better tailor, I could probably do better with it. But that's the whole purpose of trying to get this network together of people that can do different things. I would love to organize the resources here, so like when someone wants a custom figure and then they have I want a background to go with it, and they get in touch with Tom, and they want electronics, to get in touch with Mark, and say if I hook up with somebody else who's a tailor or a seamstress that does really good soft goods work, that would be even better. So like you can have your options about putting things on. And that's the other thing too that I don't know if these guys realize. Like you've got, say Gary doesn't have to be like, his figure is built around Doctor Who, but it doesn't have to stay like that. He could put regular street clothes on it. The Jeremy figure is a Jedi themed figure, but it doesn't have to be that way. He can put a pair of ripped jeans on the figure and send them out on put a man on a corner kind of thing, or like Mark was saying with if we could set up diorama backgrounds that look like these guys' backgrounds. Like, all right, you probably couldn't do Nerdrotics because he's got all the figures and stuff, but you could probably print out those pictures and put them in the background, like that looks like that, and have a similar thing. But you could probably make monitors that go on there. 3D printing, if you could get a file of the headphones that these guys wear, if Mark could print them out and so now you have headphones that can fit on an action figure. So there's so many things that you can do with this. It's limitless.
Well, at the risk of getting something thrown across the room from me, as you can see, Sandra has done her daughter's Barbie clothes, and she is an amazing seamstress. She made a Duncock's cloak that you've seen on pictures. So so I'm not going to say anymore because I'm going to get something thrown at me. So for volunteering her for something else that she has very copious free time at.
Yeah, that's the hard part. I'm averaging about 4 to 5 hours sleep a night anymore doing all this stuff. It's and the key is just to get enough time to actually sit down and do one thing is difficult. I've had people ask me about doing custom head sculpts, but I don't necessarily feel that I'm good enough to charge the amount of money that would there's guys out there that do custom head sculpts and things, and they will run anywhere. I have a friend of mine. He's actually a professional painter. His name's Nathan Eakins. He Sideshow and a lot of these companies actually hire him to paint their prototype figures that they display at conventions and stuff. And he'll do a head sculpt, like a painting of a head sculpt, say Drunk 3PO, and he would do a painting of this, right? You would look at this and the detail in the eyes, you'll be able to see each individual line in the irises of the eyes, but it's over $200 a paint job for just the head. but it's incredibly realistic looking. But it's cost prohibitive to make a head sculpt for somebody like that. But when I'm doing things like this, it's like, all right, say like I have 10 people that want to buy a Jeremy action figure. That would be doable because now I'm reusing the same one over and over again.
Mhm.
And it's just a different way of looking at like it now. And things like clothing, the more complicated you get, the more complicated you get, the more time consuming it is. But like t-shirts, for example, like like making a t-shirt is pretty easy, and getting like the cricket vinyl, there's Gary's emblem, you just pop on a t-shirt. Things like that are really easy to make. You could do a Gary figure. Say you wanted the Nerdrotic logo in the background, or each of these guys you wanted like the Geeks and Gamers logo on the back of a Jeremy figure or whatever. Things that are easily reproducible. That's where you would be able to do these things without driving yourself insane. Yeah, there's a lot of really good painters out there that are they do such an amazing job. Some of the third party figures like could definitely use a repaint. Hot Toys is amazing. Like you'll look at some of these Hot Toys figures and you can actually see the pores in the skin that are sculpted into these.
Tiger stripes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll wait until you have it on the screen. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can more or less answer that. I mean, if you have it modeled, then certainly you could use the 3D print file over and over again.
Yeah, I sculpt by hand. Like you would need the ZBrush program, which I do have, but I haven't learned how to use it. To me, the amount of time and practice it would take me to be able to reproduce a head in ZBrush, I'm probably better off refining my skills as far as like sculpting by hand.
So you do. So Mark, you sculpt by Andy. I mean, you sculpt by hand. Everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Very old school.
Okay.
Do you I noticed the skin tone on the head that you held up for Jay and for Jeremy. Do you airbrush the skin tone on it, or
no, it's all brushed
epoxy, on. I'm sorry.
It's all brushed on.
Wow.
Wow.
So you start off with some lots and lots of different very thin coats to achieve like some color changes and things. Because you have to do like some things are going to require some more shadow underneath the eyes and in the sockets and so forth, and then like a little bit of like red on the nose and the cheeks to make it a little bit more realistic, so it doesn't have that flat doll look. Just drop somebody.
Okay. And looking to see if there's any other questions out there.
Drop the Kurtzman. There's the evil Alex Kurtzman.
The who?
Alex Kurtzman.
Oh, okay.
He's remarkably intact and uninjured.
Okay. For now.
For now.
Legatus Legion, I ask, how hard is actual hair?
Okay, so for female figures, it's pretty easy because like this, it's actually a wig that fits on the back of the head. I can get this off. It's a little tricky. Whoops, pop your head off. So it comes off like that. See? So you have the wig that sits on there like that, and then it fits in that way. So that's for a rooted hair sculpt. That's pretty easy. For male figures, there is a way to do it, but it's pretty difficult. Now they're called ball jointed dolls, and you see them a lot for the anime figures, where they look like very Japanese with the big eyes and stuff. You can get wigs that will fit on there, and like, so say you were going to do like a Culture Casino figure.
Mhm.
He's got, long flowing hair. That would probably work best if you had like a rooted hair kind of thing. Now, there are some of these things where there are people that actually take the hair and root it through this, like they sell these little silicone skull caps, and they'll take a needle and thread and they'll actually root the hair through there,
Mhm.
and set up a custom wig for you. Like everything else, it can get expensive. That's why most of the time you'll get like figures that have sculpted hair. The only difference is like with some of the figures that have long hair and it's sculpted, it will limit the mobility in the head and neck area. So like
Mhm.
you can't take a figure and have them looking upward if they're going to have like sculpted hair there.
Okay. Let's see. These two tie in each other. John Rendell says would be interested in seeing the Kurtzman figure with a miniature large screen TV he could punch through like he did last year. Yeah. And then from Casey, if you're willing to make a Mikey Spock being hit with the mop by Gene the janitor, you can name your price.
Stay tuned to Doomcock's channel, Casey.
Uh-oh. 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 That sounds like a spoiler alert.
Yeah, like probably by Wednesday, if he can get to his post office box, he'll have it. You might have to ask him to show you pictures. Like I said, I don't know if he's going to broadcast them, but
Okay. Spoiler alert. Well, we have gone over 2 hours. We could probably go longer if the chat has more questions. But I know you guys probably have things to do for the rest of the evening. It's up to you guys.
I'm good for whatever you want. I was just reading that comment and thinking, I guess it would probably be pretty difficult, but Andy, you could make a Alex Kurtzman figure with judo punch or action for the TV incident.
Yeah.
well, that was, I don't know if you saw
If that's true.
When I did the video with Fet for Hire about the torture implements, I actually created a bad robot with elastic in the arms and legs so he can be stretched in the torture rack.
Mhm.
There's a torture rack that I sent Doomcock, like you actually turn the knobs and it will actually stretch the figure for you. And I included a leaf in it so it can fit either, like I included a little Mickey Mouse figure with a very evil expression on his face, and also the bad robot. But there's a leaf in there because they're only about this big, but there's a leaf that can fit inside of it, so he could put a Kurtzman figure on there. Now you can't stretch the Kurtzman figure out unless you want to destroy the actual figure, which hopefully you don't want to do that because you're only going to be able to do it once. And I also sent him a set of stocks so that he could lock Kurtzman in the set of stocks and throw metaphorical tomatoes at him.
Good. Implements of torture. Legatus asks, Mark.
Oh no, that's just mostly wishful thinking. I mean, if you found the right micro servos, I mean, anything's possible. I mean, Japan's got this. I don't know what the scale is, but that Optimus Prime that actually transforms itself into the robot form and truck form by itself.
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with that. Nothing on that level, but I mean, it's possible. But no.
Well, I was talking to Gary Ambrosia about some Doomcock robots, and so we might need some electronics to go along with them for like servo sounds and make a little Terminator style audio.
Yeah, as long as I don't have to install animatronics and do work moving parts, like.
Yeah, that would be prohibitive. Now, Hot Toys has done some amazing figures with the endoskeleton from Terminator, and looks amazing. The way everything's like, the pistons and things like that. But of course, they don't actually work or move, but it looks like it could.
Okay. Okay.
That's really what you're looking at, is to create the illusion.
Okay. Why don't you guys if you've guys got links out there, put them in the private, and I'll have Sandra put some things out there that way, because that way people can know how to reach out to you guys. Tom, we've kind of we haven't seen much of. We haven't had many questions or seen much. So your big thing is working on the bar that you've got behind you.
Yeah, that and amongst other dioramas. I got a few I'm working on.
Like
in the garage.
What else
that
that you haven't mentioned here?
Just the little ones I'm selling, the little 6-inch dioramas.
Okay.
I'm selling in the
Yeah,
shop.
you haven't shown them, Tom. You should put them on camera.
Yeah. And while you're doing that, Tom. Oh, okay.
Is it coming up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they?
Have you ever watched Boylai Hobby Time, Tom?
No, I never heard of it.
Oh yeah, it's he does some of the smaller dioramas, which is why I was so impressed with how huge yours are. He does the little book nook sized ones, like you just showed.
Yeah, that's what these are. I have one here too.
Which dioramas are those from, or shows of? Oh, that's the small version of your bar.
Yeah, just like this one here too.
Oh, okay. Have you done historical dioramas?
No, that would be fun.
Like, I'm a World War II buff, so I was wondering if you had done some of those.
No, I haven't actually, but I would try it.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, Rennie's put out your
there's
channel.
There's not much on there, but thanks for the link. Yeah, you just contact me through my email address. Okay. Email.
All right. Yeah, do that. Is it Gmail?
Yeah.
And welcome, Rennie. Thanks for coming on board and putting out the link. Tom, do you got something? Do you have a site or link that you'd like to put out there?
I do, but I don't know how to do it from here.
Put it in the private chat.
I can put it in the comments later.
Okay. Because you could type it in the private chat, and I'll post it up there. Okay. Oh, and there's Andy's YouTube channel and your Twitter. So everybody's putting. Legatus Legion Eye says, for some reason, I see Thomas with a Smurf village hiding somewhere. That would be interesting.
You got to make sure that Tom from Midnight's Edge sees your turtle set. That thing's
That is
Great.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, Tom Connors may or may not be on a list.
Ah,
Thinking maybe a He-Man theme.
true. Well, with me, I'd probably either want a King Dolphin action figure or maybe a Devil Ray diorama with some of my characters.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got Eric July, who's creating his own comic book universe. So he said something about like he might need a sculptor for things like that to get made. So,
Yeah.
but that's like the theme of your book series, like the characters in your book. That would be pretty cool to do.
That would be. I mean, Fett designed my hero ship, which is awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's actually on the cover of book 2.
Yeah, Tom's done some amazing work as far as like taking these because I had no idea that they did this, but like all these video game figures come in different sizes, different scales.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's little tiny ones and there's larger ones. And now they just started doing 6-scale ones. And you're going to have different customers for each of those things. And that's the thing. Nobody makes these things. Nobody there's Hot Toys had toyed with the idea, no pun intended, of creating some of these environments and backgrounds, but their primary customers are in Hong Kong, and there's just no space in Hong Kong. Everything's very, very tight. So they dropped out of that line. They had done a prototype of Anakin's Jedi Starfighter, but they never produced it. And so there's a lot of people out there that would love to have these things. I mean, I don't know how you can do it without having your dining room table that also doubles as a Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would actually find the space for it, but some people do.
Yeah, that's the problem. Space anywhere is at a premium.
Yeah, that's what. Speaking of World War II, that's one of the things that I'm going to do, Raymond, is to. But I'm setting up after I get this done over here to clear out some of the space for the modern heroes. I have a shelf over on the other side of the room that's going to be all invaders in World War II. And my intention is to put some soldiers in there because like I said, my father fought in the war, so I plan on sculpting him in his 20s in his sergeant's uniform from World War II.
Nice. That would be nice. A nice tribute to him. So, okay. Well, guys, this has been fun. This has been great. I appreciate all of you guys coming over and showing off your stuff. The dioramas, R2D2, and all the stuff that you've done, Andy. You guys have done wonderful stuff, and this is really what my channel is about, is showing off creators wear and how they do it and the bits and pieces.
I'll tell you another guy you might want to look into and featuring on your show, Raymond, is Oz Muerte. He does 12th scale figures, so they're 6 inches high. He's done a 12th scale Doomcock figure, and he was working on producing things like that with it. So, but he works at a completely different scale than I do, and I actually have a little bit easier doing things my way because there's existing bodies where a lot of that stuff, the body's already molded, so he has to do a lot more work than I do.
Okay. If you could put his name out there, and I'll reach out to him. If you've got a way I can contact him, or just a name.
He's on Twitter, and he's usually in Doomcock's chats.
Okay. Because I don't know if I've seen him in the chat.
That name sounds familiar.
Oz Muerte?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does some great work.
Okay.
He's actually done. He's got a DeviantArt. You look like he's got like figures of like Gary's head in the bottle.
Okay.
You're sideways,
Okay.
Tom.
All right. I will definitely reach out to him. Thank you, Gary. And please, people, go to Gary's or go to Andy's channel and subscribe. Oh, and please please reach out to Mark and Thomas and take if they've got channels and stuff and see their wares.
As soon as I figure out how to shoot video, I'll be putting more content up. I need a
Okay.
program to actually figure it out.
Well, I'm still learning, so but if you need help from me, please reach. You know how to reach me.
As suggested. Forget what the name of it is. It's
What is a video editing suite or? Sorry, what was it?
He suggested I use Camtasia, but I mean I don't know. When I first started doing this for my Kung Fu studio, like doing videos, I was just using Windows Movie Maker, but that's pretty clunky and it's a lot of extra steps.
Mm-hmm.
I'd much rather have just something I can click on and go with.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, anybody, I highly recommend if anyone's interested in you see these 6-scale figures, you see some of these things, go someplace and check them out. Like find any comic book store that's around you. Chances are they'll have some Hot Toys figures in there, maybe on display. You can get out there and you can check these things out. Be careful, you'll probably be hooked, and it is addictive, but it's a lot of fun. You can do all kinds of different things. You can have a different display every week. Or if you buy a statue, it's always the same.
Okay.
Limitless possibilities with this stuff.
Okay. I probably putting out some links for everybody. That is Andy. That is Tom's Etsy link. Okay. And Andy's channel. And there was okay. And I guess this is Tom's channel. Okay. There you guys go. Please chat.
Thank you.
Go on over there and check them out. And see what they have to offer. So again, guys, thank you very much. Going to go into some show notes before we call it a night. And bear with me.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Thank you.
This is Spotlight.
Yes, I'm going to try something new and different on my side here when I do my. Hold on a second. When I do. All right, never mind.
I was ready for a credit roll.
I'm not there yet. Okay. Darn it. Okay. My speaker's acting a little odd here. I tried something and didn't work. Hold on, guys.
So was that a one-to-one model, or was that your son?
That's my kid.
Oh, okay.
He's his helper.
You know?
He does all the dialogue on his videos.
Yeah, he's my narrator.
Okay, I'm back. StreamYard was giving me an echo. From 2 Raymonds to 0. Yeah, Rennie. StreamYard. It's fun. So I'm going to go into show notes. I was going to try something, but that blew up in my face. So we'll just go over what's going to happen the next few weeks. On the 12th, Clobbering Times and Raquel Briggs will be coming over, and we'll be talking the Fantastic Four. That will be Wednesday.
Can't wait for
On
that.
the 19th, Anti-Derivative Jill and I will we'll continue our DS9 discussion. On Saturday the 22nd, we're going to do a Just Cuz with the Baron Orman Tag, Fet for Hire, and Fez for Hire, John Rendell. On the 26th, we're going to be doing PJ's coming on from Orville Nation, so we can start whetting your appetite for the return of the Orville. I'm looking forward to that one. Guys, I'm still waiting on names for the raffle for celebrating my 100 subscriber milestone. If you want to enter, please send me an email or DM me on Twitter. Sandra or Rennie will put out the email address. The grand prize is autographed copies of All's Fair and Peacemaker, or if the winner already has them, either a cup or a shirt. And for the second prize, it's either an autographed copy of All's Fair or an autographed copy of Peacemaker. Sandra's put the links out to the website and to my email address. So please let me know what please put your name in there. Let me know that you want to be in the raffle, and we will have fun with that. I would like to thank our esteemed panel, Andy Masterson, Mark, and Tom, for coming out and telling us all about what they do, the products they provide, and just having fun and showing it off to the chat. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And would like to thank all you distinguished chatters for coming on, and I'd like to say goodbye to Legatus Legionii, our number one early bird, and Renier is saying, Mark, you got 2 subscribers.
What does that bring me up to, about 12? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I've got on there anymore.
And Canadian Spider-Man, thanks for coming on by. Grifter, thank you for coming on and enjoying the chat. Hope you keep coming on by. We've got a lot of good stuff going on. Darius Munchausen, thanks for coming on by. Fez for Hire, John Rendell. We can't wait to have you on the channel. Snorter Poopas, Q-Bar, thank you for coming on by. I think we need to get a Snorter Poopas action figure out there if he's here, but I don't know how big
A plushie.
Yeah, a plushie. Big polar bear plusher. Big Daddy MRI, one of the wrenches tonight. Thank you. Keeping those bots at bay. Fet for Hire, brother. Always a pleasure. My brother from another mother, and the the mad genius behind King Dolphin TV. Again, thank you very much. Stuart Mitchell, thank you for coming here, and I hope you had a good time. Stella Heather, the other wrench, the other bot slicer, thank you for being here and helping out. Lord Thoth, thank you. Catwise, thank you for coming. The lovely Sherry, thanks again for coming by. Glad to have you. Six, thanks for coming by. Crazy Cat Guy, Mayor McCheese, the ever amazing Casey Osowski, thank you all for coming. Thanks, Tiger Stripes, for being here. And Renier, the other wrench, thank you very much. And guys, I couldn't do it without you guys in the chat. You guys are amazing. Thank you for this small but mighty and feisty community. You guys are wonderful. And it's our way of bringing all these creators out there and letting everybody know that these creators are appreciated and giving everybody a venue to show off their creations. Guys, I've had a great time. I hope everybody else has had a great time. I hope Andy, Tom, and Mark have had a good time.
I had a wonderful time. Thank you.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Glad to have you. Oh, and we'll bring you guys back when you have new work, when you have other things to show off, and you guys are always welcome on the Dolphin TV.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I can't say goodbye without saying thank you to my amazing partner in crime, my better half. Hail, Sandra Feliciano. She's probably exhausted after the flights today. She had 2 flights today, 2 check rides she had to give. So I'm sure she's quite tired.
She got through 2 flights. She should probably buy a lotto ticket at this point.
Yes, thank you again, honey. Fet for Hire says I'm feisty and fetty. Yes, definitely. I appreciate what you do for me, Fet, and glad you're here. Glad you're part of the team. Love you, brother. Smash that like before you go. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. I keep looking to grow more and more. As Sandra has said, we're small but mighty, but I'm thinking we're small but feisty. We'll get there. Everybody, you have a great weekend. We will see you next time. And again, let us continue to make some waves.
See ya.